This is Nikisha Fogo, principal dancer with San Francisco Ballet. Her journey as a pre-professional dancer towards now as a professional dancer, and some of the challenges she had to overcome, which included having to, at the age of 16, start thinking about how you're fueling your body on your own and navigating a busy schedule, and so much more. So Nikisha, why don't you really just take it from there, the biggest challenges you experience transitioning from pre-professional dancer to professional dancer?
Yeah, so like I said before, that obviously when you go from school into professional life, you're more on your own, like even more than in school, and you have to make even more decisions for yourself. So for me, it was just like making the time to have snacks, or like making sure that I pack it and like think about it in advance. And um, even if it's just like, I mean, in my dance bag, I always have some kind of food to kind of make sure that I have enough energy for the beginning of the rehearsal until the end. And just to keep it going, I guess that's when I like really had to think more about like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and one thing you had mentioned earlier was, uh, this need for more of those carb-based snacks to pick up your energy. You said, keeping a lot of fruit on hand, and maybe some bars and stuff, just as almost like emergency situations. And one thing that you pointed out, I think a lot of dancers will try and push through a rehearsal or a class without replenishing what could be depleted energy needs like throughout that actual class. And I think it's so important for dancers to realize that that might very much be necessary, right? That replenishment during whether it be a 1, 2, 3, or 4 hour rehearsal could really be what helps you get through an important time of your day.
Yeah, definitely. And like staying hydrated, making sure you drink water. Because I remember at one point, like a long time ago, I don't remember, but for some reason, people were not drinking water during class and it was not
Mm.
allowed. So, like for me, I always try to stay hydrated in class also, because it definitely your body will thank you after the class, definitely also.
Yeah, and that's so important, by the way, for like teachers out there, directors to hear as well. I mean, needing some snacks or some water in the studio could really help a lot of dancers with their energy levels, topping off their glycogen stores, which is, as a dancer, our body's preferred fuel source to get you through that intense time. So I think it's important, even for those higher ups, to realize that hydration also. I mean, hydration so often falls to the waistline, and we tend to forget about it. Now, there's no doubt that a lot of dancers struggle with negative feelings, or they'll hear negative comments about body image. Nikisha, was this ever anything that you've, or maybe your eyes have been open to, maybe you've experienced and you've had to overcome, that you can share?
Yeah, well, obviously, like our profession is a little bit hard on this, because we're constantly looking ourselves in the mirror, trying to perfect, or like trying to be the best that we can be, obviously. And when you're constantly looking at yourself, it can be a bit distorted what you see, or like you're not really sure what's, at least it's like this for me. I'm not really sure what I'm
Sure.
seeing at some point.
You bring up such a good point, which is body image distortions. If we're standing in front of a mirror, looking at ourselves all day, looking at other dancers in the room, it is one thing I always say is that body image in of itself is a journey. It's not a destination. And the idea of finding full body acceptance could be very far-fetched for a lot of dancers. So what I often like to talk about is the idea of seeking body neutrality, where we may not look in a mirror and to love to the end of time what we see, regardless of what anybody looks like. But what we can begin to do is to approach it with a much more neutral mindset, utilizing thoughts that are centered in appreciation rather than through self-judgment. again, like you said, you're constantly looking in a mirror, looking to perfect your dancing. This is what we're taught to do. So it just makes sense that a lot of dancers' minds are going to go to that comparative mindset. And I think we as dancers need to have a very proactive approach to, stop those thoughts, and instead of ridiculing ourselves, coming at it with more appreciation and looking at, well, look at what our bodies can do as dancers, right? It's really honestly incredible compared to the general population.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, well, I think we often forget that what we do is it's hard, and not
Mm.
everyone can do it, and we get so caught up in the moment, and sometimes it's just good to take a step back and just be like, wow, like maybe I can't do this 5 pirouettes, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, look what you've already like achieved, and everyone has their own journey. And I think that's like the most important thing, to like, you can appreciate what other people are doing, and like, wow, that's so beautiful. And you can, like, if you like something, how they do it, you can try to do it yourself. But we are all different in the end, and like, you can make it your own.
I think that's the beauty of art and dance. We are able, and it should be encouraged, that we are making it our own, and that everyone is different. And I think that sometimes, like you said, gets lost when we're so hyper focused on whether it be pulling out 5 pirouettes or not, which brings into my next question. A lot of dancers, especially younger pre-professional dancers, will hyper focus on their technique. How have you been able to maintain balance in your life where perhaps you're also experiencing other experiences aside from just being in the studio?
Yeah, I always try to have like a balanced life in general. Like, not, I always find that, for example, now when I wasn't able to go to San Francisco, I wasn't only training ballet, I was going and doing hip hop and heels class, and just because we're dancing in the end of the day, to find that joy. Like, I wasn't, because I wasn't able to come, I was feeling a bit sad in ballet class, and because you can't do what you want to do. And I also think that because of the pandemic, we maybe all have like a different appreciation about
Yes.
coming back to dance, and being like, wow, I can move my body in this big space and having fun. Like, for me, the most important thing is to have fun when you're dancing. And I mean, it's amazing that you can do a grand jeté. Like, not everyone can do that, or it's just a nice feeling.
Yeah, it goes back to that appreciation. Even now that we're seeing with the pandemic, I want to say post-pandemic, but I can't really say that because of, the variants and everything going on, unfortunately. But we are finding a newfound appreciation for so many dancers that have been at home for so long, to get back into the studio, to be able to like move and like stretch your arms, which is like what I need to do right now. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Instead of dancing in just like a 2 by 2, small space. It's definitely a newfound appreciation. Nikisha, any fun like pre-performance rituals now that you're getting back to the groove of things? What are some things that you need to do to get into the zone pre-performance?
Well, leading up to performance, I always take a lot of baths.
Ah,
For me, it's really important, because my muscles tend to like seize up, and
mhm.
that's when I start getting like injuries and stuff. So I always try to like be calm and and take baths, and really like feel how my body is feeling every morning, like do a little check, okay, we're doing good. And before the show, I would normally eat like maybe some, like, I would have like a bigger lunch,
Mhm.
and have a little nap before the show. So
Mhm.
um, that's kind of like my ritual, like going into the performance.
Yeah, I love that. I love the nap situation because that is honestly, we don't give enough credit to sleep. And sleep is so important to our body's recovery and setting you up for a strong performance. We can easily talk for days about nutrition and balanced meals and consistent snacks, but We can't forget about some of the other super important things like de-stressing. Like you said, I love that you're doing this little check in the morning with your body, just scanning your body. That's such an important mindful practice that a lot of dancers could do. It only takes a couple seconds. And then, of course, making sure that you are resting. That is so critical. Nikisha, my final question for you, I ask this to all the dancers who come on Conversations with the Pros, but how would you define what it means to be the healthy dancer?
Oh, well, for me, like being a healthy dancer is being like well balanced with like dance, your life, your support system, and really doing what like enjoying what you are doing, and to realize that in the end of the day, it is just dance and it's not the end of the world. And like to maybe not take yourself too seriously all the time. Like that always works for me. To just, if you mess up, that's fine. You can try again tomorrow and like not put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, which by the way, it's so important for dancers to hear that because I think the culture has evolved over time to be this like no pain, no gain attitude. And the truth is, if we take a step back, exactly what you said, and we don't take ourselves too seriously and we realize, like, it's just dance. There's other aspects of life. Like, sure, this can be a big one, and it sure is for most dancers. That's why we pursue this passion. It takes so much of us to pursue this. But at the end of the day, there are so many more ways that we need to bring balance into our lives.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to chat with you. So have a nice day and or evening or wherever everyone is.
You too. Bye.
Bye.